Yo, this is the Ancient Texan. I set out the other day working with AI and tried to sit down and say, if, if I was going to create a religion, what would it be? I grew up in a religious cult, which we won't talk about at the moment. We'll talk, maybe someday we'll go back there. But I've been averse to religion um, in general, just not on my radar. But we all have a religion, whether we figure it out um, and express it, whether we consciously choose it. We have a religion. The beliefs that we live by. Maybe that's intermixed with culture. We do a lot of things without ever examining. But I thought I want to imagine a religion. And here's the core principle, the thing that I find that I believe the most, and I want to believe, and I want it to characterize who I am. Imagine a religion that believes the love of life, and you can throw in the word there, nature, if that's the way you want to put it, believes the love of life is the core principle. Can you build a religion around that? On the surface, it's a beautiful idea for a belief system, one centered on the reverence for life itself and the natural world. Such a religion could arise around the idea that existence is sacred not because of a divine command, but because of the inherent vitality and interconnection of all living things. I think I could buy off on this idea. What's the core philosophy of this religion? At its heart, this faith would hold that to love life is to honor creation itself. To love life is to honor creation itself. Every organism, landscape, and natural rhythm becomes part of the spiritual dance that the faithful strive to understand and harmonize with. The divine isn't a separate being, but the animating force within all living things, the breath of life that moves through plants, animals, and humans alike. This religion would have a reverence for vitality. To live well means to nurture life wherever it exists, whether human, animal, or ecological. Harmony over dominance. Humanity's role is stewardship, not control. Natural balance is is a sacred law. Mindful gratitude. Every meal, sunrise, or breath is a cause for thankfulness. Rituals might center around seasonal cycles, harvest, or renewals. It's kind of like the, um, forgot what you call it, but witches, not too far from that. Forgot what that religion's called. Sacred sensuality. The senses are not temptations to suppress, but gifts to experience the living world more deeply. If you get that at, let that sink into your core, you might find sex is something more to be celebrated than suppressed. Community of being. Social relationships mirror natural ecosystems, interdependent, adaptive, and sustained through mutual care. So, what kind of practices and rituals would we have? This is all brand new, so this is a script that right now I'm trying to forge on my own, but be glad to have some people that help me sort this out because I definitely don't have all the answers. Practices would include daily time outdoors. Maybe the first thing you do every day is walk around the block. Meditative walks, ecological restoration as a form of prayer, communal feasts celebrating local abundance. Pilgrimages could involve journeys to ancient forests, oceans, or mountains. Wow. Place where nature's energy is felt most vividly. I watched a show last night on TV. This guy took a very difficult hike, one that I don't think I'm able to do anymore, into a remote section of the Grand Canyon. I've spent many of my days of my life, grew up in El Paso hiking the mountains there. If you see a mountain in El Paso, I've been on top of it. My dog and me, and I watched two of his shows last night. I'll link it here someday. So I learned how this system actually works. This is new for me, and I so wanted to be exploring that canyon with him. I can still take some hikes. It's just not as vigorous as the one he was taking. I guess we need some kind of symbolism, intertwining vines, circles, cycles of renewal, flowing water. A greeting could be something like breathe with the world, breathe with the wind. In this religion, we could have a structured mythology. We could build our own mythology. The love of life and nature is not just a value, but the very substance of the divine. The core myth explains how existence itself is formed from a relationship of affection between primor- primordial forces rather than from violence or decree. Look around the world, our current politics, um, way humans are getting along with each other in the world. I don't know if it's any different than it's ever been. it's more in our face for sure. Um, I'm worried about our value system here in America and the world. Here's something that I can't take much credit for this. I asked the questions, and AI came up with the answers. Uh, at least give myself credit for asking the questions. Creation and the first lovers. In the beginning, there is only the vast stillness, an endless dark ocean of possibility, and within it a single pulse called the first warmth. The vast stillness yearns to know itself, and the first warmth yearns to share itself. Their mutual longing become the first act of love. From their embrace emerges the living breath, a luminous mist that spreads through the darkness and awakens the universe. Wherever the living breath passes, stars ignite, worlds form, and matter begins to dance. On one small world, our world, the living breath takes root as twin presences. Gia Heart, the living body of the planet, and Anavita, the impulse toward growth and awareness. Gia Heart is the mountains, oceans, soil, and sky. Anavita is the urge in all things to bud, move, sense, and seek. Their devotion to each other, matter loving motion, and motion loving matter, births the first forests, rivers, and creatures. Every organism is spoken of as a kiss between Gia Heart and Anavita, a moment where the planet and the will to meet in a unique form. And from here, we'll build our mythology, and maybe somebody can create some stories. From here, the mythology teaches that all living things are threads in a single, ever weaving tapestry called the Great Weave. Each species is guarded and guided by a lesser spirit from the union of Gia Heart and Anavita, a river spirit that learns the paths of water, groove spirits that remember every seed, animal spirits that hold the instincts of their kind. These spirits are not distant gods, but elder siblings of their living counterparts, whispering in migration routes, germination patterns, and ecological balances. It's going to take some thought to actually know what that means, what I'm actually saying. You got to start somewhere. So I'm jumping in. Humans appear late in the story as those who can choose. Wow, that kind of blew me away when AI suggested that. Suggested that humans are those who can choose. That opens up a whole world and is much different than we normally think of ourselves. Unlike other beings, humans are capable of feeling the web consciously and deciding whether to honor it or ignore it. We can choose to honor the web of life or not. I would say most of us ignore it. I think I've ignored it most of my life. I've been busy being an engineer. Their gift is empathy that can extend beyond their own kind. Their danger is the ability to sever themselves and pretend they are separate. We are special. That's our danger. The first humans more special than the other animals, the other life forms. The first humans in the myths are portrayed as listeners who learn to read the speech of the wind and grass and the moods of the rivers. That's pretty cool. Missteps in human history: over hunting, razing forests, poisoning water, are recounted as times when humans turned away from listening and tried to stand outside the web. Always with painful consequences. We're still doing a lot of that. We've got better, at least over my lifetime. I'm a couple of years from 80. The central drama of our existence. The main recurring mythic pattern is not a single apocalypse, but cycles of wounding and remembering. At times, humans grow proud and fearful, treating the world as dead resources rather than living kin. In these ages, the great weave frays, forests retreat, animals vanish, and the spirits grow thin and quiet. This is personified as a shadow figure called the Veil of Forgetting. Actually, it gets me a little choked up. A mist that settles over all human minds, making them see only objects where beings should be. My wife sometimes gets upset when I refer to my dog here that's 15 and has got an itching and licking problem. You may hear it in the background. I refer to him as a kind being, or I even sometimes call him a person. Each time the veil grows, a child of Gia Hart and Anavita is born who can see and feel the web without distortion. These figures, sometimes called green bearers or dawn walkers, are not saviors in the sense of doing everything for humanity, but awakeners who remind people how to feel love for life again. Their miracles are humble, healing a blighted field, restoring a river, reconciling hostile clans by making them plant trees together. Myth cycles revolve around how communities either heed or reject these green bearers, with prosperity and renewal following the former and famine or emptiness following the latter. The divine pantheon of life. Although the religion is philosophically mono, mononistic, all life is one, its worship is polytheistic in practice, populated with faces and stories that personify aspects of the living world. We're going to make up a religion. Let's do it good, and let's make up a whole family of gods. Gia Hart, the world body, depicted as a figure whose skin is soil, whose hair is rivers and vines, whose breath is the wind. Anavita, the will to live, portrayed as a shifting, radiant presence that can appear as animal, human, or pure light, always moving and changing form. Okay, we're doing this religion thing. Stone Mother, who holds memory and stability, teaching patience and endurance. River Dancers, who embodies change, cleansing, and the passage of time. Leaf Singer, who represents growth, nourishment, and beauty. Flame Child, who symbolizes transformation, passion, and the energy of both birth and decay. Each ecosystem has its own spirits. Mountain uncles, marsh ants, city foxes of shadowed places, who teach that human made landscapes are now part of Gia Hart's evolving body. In myth, these spirits bargain, joke, fall in love, and argue, mirroring the dynamic interplay of ecological systems. Well, we're going to need some sacred stories for this religion. Humans, ethics, and sacred stories. That's the way us humans communicate. Stories. Sacred stories for our religion. The central ethical question is in this religion, does this action increase the love of life? Does an action you're doing increase the love of life in yourself and in those around you? Does it does it lead to more appreciation of life? Acts are judged not by abstract rules, but by their effects on the vitality and balance of the web. Exploiting land without care is treated in myth as a form of sacrilege, not because of you're offending the sky god, but because it is an act of betrayal against one's larger self. Your larger self is the life that surrounds you. Can you buy into that concept? Heroes are those who repair damaged relationship between beings, reintroducing a lost species, a lost species as a being We're not the only beings in this world. Restoring soil or teaching communities to live within the regenerative capacity of their lands. I'm not capable of that, I don't think. I don't think I know enough about my world. But I know enough to know that uh, we need to be taking care of life. We have not even advanced to the level of taking care of each other. We have so far to go on that. Human lives are framed in ecological terms. Childhood is spring, devoted to exploring and learning other beings' names. Adulthood is summer, and autumn, focused on cultivation, creation, and mentoring. Elders are winter, revered as root keepers who remember past cycles of wounding and renewal and guide communities away from repeating old mistakes. Death is not feared as annihilation, but honored as the moment when Anavita leaves a single form to join the living breath, where Gia heart reclaims the body. Funeral myths emphasize becoming food for future life. Some stories tell of great trees whose roots carry the wisdom of many generations. All of this, is kind of silly in a way to think of a religion. But religion should focus our minds and our will and our way of doing things. And they need to make it simple. And what's the ultimate criteria? It's what you're doing, increasing the love of life, the appreciation for life. Well, I think that's enough for the first um, podcast. We'll try to think of, what's our sacred narrative? Some of the stories we're going to tell? If somebody else jumps in here and helps me, this might go somewhere. Someone doesn't, maybe it just stays in my corner of the world. Anyway, I'm reaching out and going pretty far beyond my comfort level. As an engineer, I know quite a bit about making metals. I'm also more tolerant about things like mines because I know that all of our supply chains start in the ground. Everything comes from the ground. It doesn't come from the sea or the sky. It's all the nature around us. Um, and I don't think in the past we've done a great job in uh, if we're going to wound life with a big hole in the ground, um, perhaps we need to learn to restore that hole. And I don't know. I look at some of the open pits and I think of the wonders of the world. Um, but to replant those and make a place like the Butte Mine a ecological reserve, I don't know. I don't. I'm not going to go purist because I know as humans we have a great appetite for energy, and energy is one measure of prosperity. I think we've forgotten in our consumerism what's important, that the connection between us and other humans and the connections between us and life are more important than, you know, having a car or a big house or a bunch of presents at Christmas time. And we tend to think that we can make all this stuff without having a price in the world, but that's obviously not true. So we're going to continue to make stuff and hopefully prosper in the old sense of the world by being able to feed ourselves and clothe ourselves and take care of each other. But having the wisdom to know when it's excessive, when it's too much. Uh, we live in isolated houses, isolated worlds on individuals. Um, and we have a health system that depends on when you get sick, here's a pill, instead of trying to figure out how to live healthy. I think it all goes together, this religion, the love of life, trying to live a healthy life, knowing what makes basic stuff like what makes good food. How do you nourish your own life? How do you take care of the soil, other animals? Putting a pig in a cage, is that loving life? Anyway, it's a long journey. This is step one of trying to imagine what our religion would look like. And it's got a name. AI helped pick this. Actually, AI did all of it. Anna Gaia. Not sure I'm saying that right. Somebody can come in here and help me with that. I'll post some videos and stuff. I'm also trying to master how this Substack thing works. We'll get there one step at a time. Have a good day. Namaste.